All right, so let's talk about the good guys. What are actually good pre-workout supplements? There's not a lot, and that's the funny part is I'm not going to really go into detail with too many because there's really not a lot of good pre-workout supplements that I think are good. I think we can take a pre-workout supplement that might be on the good list, and we'll talk about some ways to make it better, but there's really no ideal pre-workout on the market that's going to show you any significant benefit in performance, particularly strength, power, recovery. First of all, what makes a pre-workout supplement good? In my opinion, number one, they list the ingredients on an individual basis. So they're very transparent with their product to let you know what's actually in it. They'll use branded ingredients and raw materials, and we'll talk briefly about that. Manufactured in a facility that is both certified GMP for athletic banned substances by NSF. Also, they use dosages in ingredients that are based on scientific literature. So a lot of companies are just basically using a very low dose that is nowhere near what the literature shows. And that's really just a cover up for a poor formulation, especially if they put it into a proprietary blend. And then finally, I think what really makes a product good is if the finished product is third-party tested by NSF or Informed Choice to clear that product for banned substances. That's especially important if you are a college or professional athlete or work with those individuals. What should not be in your pre-workout? And I'm sure a lot of people look at this and go, are you crazy? Some of these things are really, really effective. Well, then I ask, well, show me the science, because arginine's in just about everything, and arginine is probably one of the worst ingredients you can put in a pre-workout product. Yes, at rest, you will see probably a little bit of a slight increase in growth hormone, but prior to your workout, remember, especially a strength training session, will increase growth hormone. This will blunt the growth hormone response and release that happens with resistance exercise. So there is no benefit whatsoever to put arginine in your workout. It's not going to benefit nitric oxide release, which is going to lead to a greater pump. That is a bunch of baloney. There's no science to truly support that. If anything, I'll show you what will be a better alternative shortly. Branch chains, very popular. Don't use them pre-workout. There's zero evidence that they will help you pre-workout. Some believe that it may prevent the muscle breakdown during a workout. That's not necessarily the case. That is not the case. Take maybe a little leucine, maybe, but no really true need. During the workout, yes, that would make more sense than taking it pre. Glutamine, really best for immune health. Don't even really use it as a recovery agent. I did my master's thesis on this product. There really wasn't much of a benefit, maybe a slight benefit in power, but you'd have to take a high dose, and there's no really relative need to have glutamine. Creatine hydrochloride, very popular, no science to this, marketed really well. Dicretin malate, same thing, no science, marketed well. To go back to creatine hydrochloride, internally, from the company who manufactures it, yeah, the science internally, but it's never been published. And that's some of the problems that we see is, the company will provide you with their data, and it's always funded internally, but there's never really any unbiased research that goes along with this. Creatine ethyl ester, Crealkaline, these are all very popular and well-marketed products. Both have been outperformed by creatine monohydrate. I think that study was done by Richard Kreider, who's done a lot of work in creatine over the last 20 years. Creatine magnesium, Magna Power, another product that comes from Albion, gets a lot of hype right now. Haven't seen any science to support it. Haven't seen any science versus creatine mono, especially published data. So maybe there's some new data coming out soon, but definitely no science to support this. D-aspartic acid, actually I just read a study where this may inhibit hormonal response, affecting testosterone in a negative way, affecting growth hormone in a negative way. There was one or two studies that showed an increase in testosterone in rats, so it gets good publicity when we look at putting this in a pre-workout. Agmatine sulfate, again, no science, marketed well. Citrulline malate may be beneficial in dosages greater than 6 grams to increase nitric oxide, but there's really no true benefit to shove this. Eat a bunch of watermelon, you get plenty citrulline. And then finally, L-carnitine. Really, carnitine's kind of like a versatile type supplement. Acetyl L-carnitine, 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 L-tartrate. Then there's L-propionyl L-carnitine. That actually has, the propionyl version has some benefit with nitric oxide. The L-carnitine L-tartrate post-workout has shown maybe to alleviate muscle damage a little bit. But none of these ingredients really should be in a pre-workout product, but most of them are. All right, let's talk what I think is probably one of the best pre-workouts on the market. Actually, it's not even been released yet, but it soon will be. It will be NSF for Sports certified. It's the new EAS Bio Preworkout. I think they've done a great job with the formula. There's a few things, of course, and I understand why they do these things, but I would change it just a little bit if I was formulating these products. I love the beetroot extract. If we want to increase nitric oxide, you really want beetroot. That's a great ingredient to increase nitric oxide. PKTP has some solid science to improve ATP and improve force and power. So that's a really good branded ingredient. I like the fact that they've included that. Beta-alanines in a lot of products. I personally, there's not a lot of benefit in beta-alanine in high dosages. All the research that I've seen for a benefit to improve endurance or muscular endurance is going to be in 800 milligram dosages 4 times a day. But still, you're going to see beta-alanine. It gives you that tingling sensation. It feels like something's working. I like the caffeine. That's always a positive when it comes to just really, especially from the energy, the boost, the pump. But 150 milligrams is a good, safe dosage. And also the creatine. Now, the only thing I would change here, really, 2 things. I mean, I would add another ingredient. I'll talk about that shortly as we get later into this presentation. But more creatine. I mean, 1 gram of creatine is not going to have much benefit whatsoever. I would say at least a minimum of 3 grams. Maybe they're trying to keep their costs down. That makes sense. I've worked with companies to work on pre-workouts and formulations, and I understand when we're trying to get to a certain number, a lot of companies want to really come in under $9 with their product because they're going to sell it for $34.99, they're going to sell it for $49.99, and sometimes they're going to sell it for $79.99 when it's only costing them $6 to make. So some of these ingredients are not super expensive. Some things like PKTP will be expensive. If you're using carnosine beta-alanine, that'll be a little bit more expensive because it's a branded ingredient versus a generic. So overall, this is probably my favorite pre-workout. I would just add a scoop of creatine of about 3 to 5 grams to this and really make it what I would think would be a signature pre-workout. Here's a pretty cool product as well. Most people are probably not familiar with Powerrun. Fairly new company, NSF for Sports certified. Not a bad formula. So what I like about it is they use a decent dose of creatine, 3 grams, 3,000 milligrams. They also use CreaPure, which is a good quality monohydrate out of Germany. Good product. Overall, I think a few things I would do a little differently here would probably be remove the arginine. Again, there's no benefit there. That'll cut the cost. Remove the citrulline malate. Probably put some beetroot in this product, and I'll talk about an ingredient later that unfortunately can't be in a lot of pre-workouts, but should because it has some pretty solid science to support it. I like this product because 2 reasons. It's caffeine free, so if I have a young athlete that is really looking to take something and will take something, then we can use this product. So it's caffeine free. It's also NSF for Sports certified. I would change some few things, but the first thing I like about it, a little betaine in anywhere from 2.5 to 3 grams has shown to possibly increase power in 2 studies. We definitely want to add a little more creatine, at least double that dosage to 3 grams, maybe even 5 grams. Take the arginine out, take the citrulline out. I mean, in those dosage, it's not going to do anything anyway. Those are just fillers. Again, the glutamine, the whey protein, they're such small dosages. Maybe some tyrosine and taurine, again, for focus. But overall, not a bad product. A very safe product for a younger athlete looking to maybe start a pre-workout. And then, really, the same company, Cytosport, makes Monster Pump. So this adds caffeine, a little bit different. They use 1 gram of beta-alanine. Again, the same thing. They use CreaPure, 1.5 grams. For an older athlete looking to maybe get a little bit caffeine in their system, this is a decent product. NSF for Sports certified. I would double the dose of the creatine. I think that would make it a little bit more beneficial. Take the arginine and carnitine. You can leave the citrulline at 3 grams. Again, we've talked about 6 grams has really been shown to may have a slight benefit. It also has a little bit of leucine and also has the PEP form leucine from Glambia. So in my opinion, if I was to formulate a product, I won't go through the dosages exactly, but you've seen some of those. What should be in a pre-workout? Obviously, and again, let's talk about what should be the purpose of a pre-workout. In my opinion, it's not just be jacked up, running around the gym screaming and yelling, have a ton of energy, because, yeah, that works, but, caffeine is not going to basically translate into more power and strength in the weight room. So I think it's beneficial to have, but you don't need 300 and 500 milligrams of caffeine so your head's going to burst off. I think, number one, we need to focus on at least some creatine. Creatine monohydrate, from Pure. I think that's a great start. I like the beetroot extract. One thing that's going to be hard to find, though, in a lot of the pre-workouts is going to be HMB. There's a company that has a license on the powdered form, and that prevents any other companies from using it in powdered form in their pre-workouts. Alone, you can have just pure HMB, beta hydroxybutyrate alone. I like the free acid form, but again, there's another company. Muscle Tech has the license to be the only distributor of HMB free acid. It's in their Clear Muscle. It's not NSF for Sport certified, but I do like that product. Caffeine, and then, of course, something that we don't talk about, baking soda, sodium bicarb. Good science. Particularly when you combine creatine and sodium bicarb, you get a pretty powerful combination for power and also basically reducing lactic acid buildup and metabolic acidosis. And again, why not beta-alanine? To me, it's just the dosages are high. You don't get much benefit. Yeah, we'll increase muscle carnosine, but we haven't seen a ton of research to show high doses of beta-alanine will increase muscular endurance. So I think these 5 ingredients would be beneficial. You have to be careful, though. I don't recommend people go out and just all of a sudden start taking baking soda because it could really cause a pretty bad upset stomach. So you have to be really cautious. Do your research. It's not something that if you're a young athlete, I would advise all of a sudden adding baking soda to your pre-workout. You know, for older athletes, for some elite athletes, yeah, I've used it with some sprinters and athletes that are trying to increase their power, but we have to take caution and you have to start really small because high dosages can cause some severe stomach issues. All right, we talked about really in the part 1 of the webinar about just third-party testing. This is just a reminder. If you're going to pick a product, be sure that company uses a third-party testing product for safety, especially if you're a college or professional athlete, or even if it's a high school athlete. High school athletes don't get tested, but at least you know you're taking a clean product. Gold Standards, NSF, Informed Choice, their websites are listed right here, Banned Substance Control Group, bscg.org. Usually the Gold Standards, the NSF, and Informed Choice. Usually I recommend sticking with those 2. Those are going to be your 2 top products. If you're curious about a product, go to their website. See if the product you have is on their list. They'll list it by the company. Sometimes it takes a little while to go through that information, but it's definitely a good resource to have. Definitely follow us again. We're going to have 2 more parts. I'm going to talk about the bad next, and then I'm going to talk about the ugly. So stay tuned. A lot of great more information coming up on the bad pre-workouts, which are going to be some of the most popular pre-workouts used, then followed by the ugly. See you shortly. So that concludes the end of the section on good supplements, at least that, based on my opinion, I would put in the good category. Now I'd like to hear some feedback. If there's something that you think that might be good or something that you would like to ask, send me some questions. If there's certain products that you currently take that you'd like to learn more about, at the bottom of the Facebook chat, please put some questions in there. I'm happy to stay on that thread with you and really go back and forth and just kind of talk about different things or questions that you guys have in regard to the section on the good supplements. So stay tuned. I'm going to be sending you part 3, the bad, where we'll go through a lot of the bad section, a lot of the bad pre-workout supplements, and we'll talk about what do I think categorizes them and puts them in the bad category, as well as here's a list of about 15 or 20 products that are really popular. Some of these are going to be in the top 10 list of bodybuilding.com, but they're just poorly formulated.